the other pasuk. I had.
Yes, this is Mishlei 20, pair 20, pasuk 2. Naham kakfir emas melech, misabro chote nafsho. Yeah.
Is it the same?
No. In fact, it's less similar than it feels.
Huh.
It's just that first phrase, or I mean, whatever. It's yeah. So how are we translating this?
A roar like the young lion.
Yep.
Like a young lion is the awe of the king.
Like a young
Fear / awe
lion.
of the king.
Yeah, is the fear / awe of the king, of a king, I guess. Yeah.
One who transgresses him.
So I think misabro is one who angers him.
Okay.
Evra is anger. So one who angers him.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. It's weird that it's reflective though. Misabro. I don't know what the deal is with that. Bro. Yeah.
Sins his soul.
Yeah. Sins against his soul. Yeah. Sins against his soul. Yeah. Is that the water run?
I don't know what it is. It always makes me laugh because he.
Oh, it's the jacket run. I wasn't sure if it's the water run or the jacket run. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, let's look into ציון just to get the translations clear here. So ציון says, hey, I say that. So ציון says, Naham is King Nikras Shagas Aryeh. So that's what we call the roar of a lion.
Okay.
And I feel like the fact that he used the word aryeh and doesn't define the word kfir means that he's learning them as synonyms, right? Because last time we dealt with this, is it a young lion or is this just a synonym for lion? You know?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah. This is I went back and looked at when we did this. This was the first day back after winter break.
Cool.
Yeah. But I didn't listen to this year again. Yeah. We did it for 2 days, and so we did a lot of interpretations. I guess we should not try to remember it, but then
You did the
we did a pasuk that's similar to this, and a lot of the Mefarshim quote it, and some of them don't even explain this pasuk. They say, "Oh, it's it's like the other one." Yeah. So ema is milashon ema of apachad. Okay, so ema is an expression of fear and trembling.
Wait, question. Why is just say Cain Nikra? Like, why is he saying like this is what we call like?
I don't know.
Is that like?
I don't know. It makes it sound like the Shagas Aryeh is the more primary term, and like Naham, because I think Naham is like a general term for noise making or like sounds, like just a sound making thing. And I guess he's saying that we apply that to, yeah, like I'm trying to think of an example in English. Because like there are words we have that are specifically for, like oink is specifically for pigs, you know, but then we have other sounds that like, let's say like roar, right? So roar is an example. Lots of things roar, but we associate it with the lion. Okay. That's kind of like what I feel like he's doing here, you know? So it's like, it doesn't mean lions roar, but we call a lion's roar a naham. Okay. Yeah. All right. Misabro, milashon evra. That's a language of anger and wrath. Chote inyan, so this is different then. Not sins against his will. Chote inyan chesron means a deficiency. Kmo kolea be'even el hashara v'lo yachati. Is that kolea evan el hashara? I gotta look up.
Is that by what's it called? By the 70 70 brothers that are called?
I don't know. I'm not familiar with that either.
Yeah.
Oh, this is by Sheikh Binyamin.
That's cool.
Yeah. Among all these people were 700. Is that what you just said?
70.
Oh, okay. 700 choice left-handed men, all of whom could sling a stone at a hare and not miss. So Yafi is missed, right? Because that's the that thing is a faded missing a target. So he translates this as misabro chote nafsho, one who angers him, chote nafsho. So I don't know if that means his soul. Okay, well, let me just actually list these different translations here. Okay, so we have the first one is he sins against his soul. Okay, and his soul and himself are synonyms. Yeah. And then, but the other one is his soul misses.
That like uses out.
No, Mrs. Well, okay, that's what I'm not sure about because Mrs. W does say the word chesaron, but then he also says the thing with the firing a slingshot and missing, his soul misses. And then maybe there's other ways to translate that also. Okay, fine. So that's Mrs. Tion. Okay, then we got Sadigon, who says Gam Emat Hamelach Kinahamas Hakfir. Also, the wrath of the king is like the roar of a young lion. Koha over Aleha. Oh, so he says it like you did, Isaac. Anyone who transgresses it, I guess, like who angers the king, he sins against his soul.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much I was like reading it originally, and how much it was like I've already seen Sion and Sion put out.
I don't get the point you're making.
Meaning, I'm not sure. It's not that not necessarily that I intuited what Sion was going to say.
Uh-huh.
It might have been that I was subconsciously remembering.
Oh, did he say this last time also?
No, I've done this plus.
Oh, you've done this pasuk before.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. You said that you and Nathan did both of these.
Yes.
Okay.
And then not the next one.
And then not that. Okay, fine. All right. One who transgresses it, or violates it. Probably is better. Violates it. Yeah. Okay. And the Targum, I think it's straight up translation. Naham heth arya imsa demalka uman de machase de machames le chate anashe. I think that's just a straight translation. Art scroll, like the roar of a young lion, so is the terror of a king. One who angers him forfeits his soul. Forfeits, so loses. That's like magician loses his soul. That's how you're translating it. Living says the terror of a king is like the roar of a young lion. He who provokes his anger risks his life. Also says a roar like a lion, a king's terror. Who provokes him mortally offends. So meaning he commits a mortal offense, meaning he sins with like not for like his life, like he's doing a capital, incurring a capital sin or something like that. Yeah.
And the subject here is the lion.
The king's wrath is like the roar of a lion, and then the person who's angering him is the one who's forfeiting his life or whatever.
Who's angering the king?
Yeah.
Okay.
Structurally in terms of the pasuk.
Yeah.
Is it? It seems like maybe it's actually calling the Ema of the king a roar. The thing of roar like a lion's.
Yeah.
Is the
right.
Is the Ema of the king.
Yeah. Yeah, that's weird though.
Yeah. Yeah. The other pasuk is also like that.
Yeah. That too was weird. And I think we should say, by the way, that I think Ema is pretty clear that it is fear, not awe, just because of the lion's roar. I think it was a celery. I don't know why there's celery on the sprinkled celery. Someone's been eating celery over my laptop. Probably me. All right, questions? Questions. So obviously, how is the fear of a king like a roar on a lion?
What is the fear of the king?
Yeah, what is the king?
It sounds like we're talking about the fear of the king, but then we're talking about like negative effects to the person.
Right.
That's not an effect of the fear, that's an effect of power to be able to like do something.
Yeah. Something that's like the grammatical weirdness that I was sensing in the question there. Like it's comparing the roar of it, but it's really talking about the emotions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is the person transgressing?
Okay. Wrestling. Point side you go.
Right, when we're saying
yeah.
no.
Oh, okay. Then, but according to the other, what is it? Even if according to the other translation, what is he doing?
Yeah.
What type of like transgression?
Yeah. What is the violated? What is the person doing? Yeah. To anger the king.
Yeah.
Right.
According to the I guess the translation said or interpretation said that he's like losing his life when you're in anger, it's dangerous.
Yeah.
How is that not?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's gonna be the problem here. Is this pasuk seems obvious, especially given the fact that we had another pasuk about it earlier. Yeah.
What is the relationship between fear and anger?
Okay. What's the relationship between fear and anger? It's amazing, by the way, how I don't know if you're feeling this. How much harder it is to approach a pasuk when you feel like you did one that was like very similar, very fairly recently.
Yeah. Also, what's the punishment he's getting? Is it
Yeah.
like,
So should we just say, what is the consequence,
Yeah.
right? Oops. Because that's really what everyone's holding that the second half is describing either the consequence or the violation.
Mhm.
And it's just, depending on how we take it. What is the consequence?
wait.
Or are
in-
you asking a different question?
Yeah, I was
Okay.
asking that question, but well, I'm not asking that question. But the reflexive thing,
Yeah.
is it possible that it's going on the king? Like if the king gets himself angry, then he's gonna lose his soul or something.
It reads well.
Ooh. That's an intriguing possibility.
Yeah.
Can you say it again?
That the Miss Abru is in the reflexive, so it's like the king making himself angry. Like if he gets angry or something,
Mm.
he like
So-
makes himself
So
angry.
the subject is the king, not the person who's angering the king.
Right.
Yeah, then the whole pasuk would really be focusing on the king.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would also make more
Uh,
sense because I was
yeah.
gonna say like it's very confusing how like we're talking about this person but we're not like labeling or identifying it.
Yeah.
Like based on the way you read it, it would seem that there's a person angering the king who's like a lion, and therefore this person like it's just like all over the place.
Yeah, yeah.
It would make more
Yeah,
sense for the
it's a
subject to be the king.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And according to the way I was reading it, maybe you could say that it's the awe of a king, and
Mhm.
but he's violating the awe by getting angry.
Okay.
Interesting.
Oh, the awe of other people
Yeah.
for him to
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
angry. Uh-huh.
I'm liking that.
I
reading.
also ask,
Yeah.
you're also asking, especially with Dev's reading, what's the practical application of this pasuk then?
Yeah. So
Nice.
we have to ask that. Right. Yeah. So, if the pasuk is talking exclusively about the king, what is the practical application? Right, because the practical application is clear if it's talking about the other person. Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
It's almost too clear.
Yeah. I think that's what we were asking. We were saying like it seems
Right.
obvious. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I'd say according to the non-king read, trying to not those read.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't get angry. So according to the read, it's the second half seems like it stands on its own, and then, but it doesn't seem to necessarily have relation to the fear of the king. Like it seems to be describing some quality, some aspect of the fear, but like there's like the practical fear of like he's gonna punish you if you get angry, if he gets angry at you or something. But like that has nothing to do with the qualities of the fear of the king. There's like fear of the consequence,
Mhm.
but that doesn't seem to be with the first half of the
Really? I mean, I would think that is the plain shot is that because he's, you got someone who is capable of, like having such a severe punishment, then the fear is going to be
Yeah,
greater.
I'd say it's yeah, I don't think you need to like if let's say if I tell you if you like if you punch that strong guy in the face, he's gonna punch you back and knock out your teeth.
Mhm.
Like I don't also need to say I think you should be afraid of him because he's strong.
Mhm.
Like
Right, but it's not really saying that you should be afraid, right? It's
Yeah.
saying that it's describing the phenomenon, not.
oh, so then I'd say to modify it, like I'd say don't punch that guy in the face because he's gonna punch you back and knock out your teeth. And people are afraid of him.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah.
It seems like redundant. 'Cause
Right. I hear what you're saying.
So I just finished to go on through and just screenshot the document.
Okay, I was wondering what happened there.
Yeah.
Get out of here. Yeah.
Is it possible that Amos can mean like wrath, not just fear?
I don't think so.
I don't think
I think Ema is describing the emotional reaction of the subject. Yeah. Let's explore that one.
Okay.
That one intrigued me.
Yeah.
So Zev's reading is Nam fear Hamas Melech, a roar of like a young lion is the fear of a king. Misabro, he who angers himself or who makes himself angry, meaning the king, Hote Nafsho, either sins against himself or loses his soul or something like that.
I like that reading also.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the basic phenomenon that I'm seeing is, like, there's this, a king, like, people like tend to look at a king like, as like a near mythical figure. But if he like loses his equanimity and like, just like gets angry like anyone else, people are like, oh, he's just
Human.
He's human.
Right, yeah. Right, that's interesting. And you could see why a king would be tempted to display anger, because the result feels like it's gonna be the same, that like, people are in awe of me and in terror of me because I'm the king. And so like, I eventually want to dial that up, then I just act angry. But really it's so he views it as like a quantitative thing, like a tool in his toolkit. But then when he actually gets angry and loses control, I mean, the real thing is if you see him losing control, right?
Right.
Then that lowers the prestige. Yeah.
There are times where, I mean, I guess another question would be like, I mean, there are times where he should be angry or at least act angry.
Well, I guess when we start learning Chachos, we'll find out that that's not the case. But no, acting angry, yeah. So that's another question. Is like, I mean, isn't this it is a valuable tool sometimes,
Well, I think that's what the first one is saying. That, like roaring, like displaying.
I see.
That's
But not losing control.
Right.
The second half would be
Yeah.
talking about when you lose control,
Right.
then it's not a positive thing
Yeah.
anymore.
That's
Don't do
interesting.
that.
Like a person,
Yeah.
like a person, he could like be angry at like, let's have like an icy tone or something.
Yeah.
As opposed to like flying into a rage.
Right.
Right.
If the king is like angry but like very clearly in control,
Mm-hmm.
then I think that that won't cause people to lose
Mhm,
their friend. But if he's like,
And it'll have just the opposite effect. It'll have people be like
yeah,
more scared of him. Like if he's
yeah,
angry but
but, like,
clearly,
cold, and, like,
clearly like in control and just like expressing his anger, like that's a tool in a toolkit.
Yeah.
But then the rage, like the not being in control anger, that's not a tool.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
cross the threshold.
Yeah.
It reminds me of the psuk we
What's he
learned
good to say something?
on the Shabbaton.
Yeah.
Yeah, where two people argue with each other and they stoop down to the level.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Right.
Like, you look at him as like he's a maniac, like,
Yeah. That's true.
that could
Yeah.
undermine a person's entire,
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. But I feel like it's worse though for the king, because it's not just like with the fool where you see that this guy's just a fool, but the person who you thought was really, really
Right.
above all of this
Right.
is really like that. Yeah.
So how would you perceive, I mean, there are many different types of kings, and one type of king is just, he's just the king was just out of freaking control.
Yeah.
He is a maniac.
Yeah.
I mean, so what's the difference between awe and fear for that king? I mean, it's just who he is.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think he's really going to succeed in establishing this type of awe, at least. I think there is a certain type of fear that people will have of him, of like, this guy could totally fly off the handle and like do bad stuff, but it'll be like a fear of like a like a maniac, like Nebuchadnezzar is a really good example of that. Like he just, when he has the bad dream and no one can interpret it, he says, okay, I'm gonna kill all the chachamim in Babel, and he just sets out and starts doing that, and like they're gonna be afraid of him, but in like an unstable way, not in a like superhuman way. Yeah.
So what's the
Crazy.
what's the practical difference between the two?
I think it has to do with whether you view this person as powerful and in control and therefore capable of like high executive function, or like unpredictable. I have no idea what
Right, I know. My question is more on like, why should the king care about that? If he has law and order one way or another, what difference does it make?
Well, people aren't really going to respect his will the same
So
way.
what? I mean, so what?
So,
because then he's not going to have authority. I mean, if
yeah.
people,
I
Yeah.
think
He has
he might
the
not
army- he has
directly
the army,
contravene what he's
because-
saying, but like, he's trying to, let's say, not like, let's say, like, establish some sort of like, municipal system. He's gonna have to oversee like every aspect of it, or else no one's gonna do it because people don't
I
respect
know,
him.
but I agree with you. I understand that people may not respect him. However, he's the king. He has the army. He could just kill them if they don't do it.
yeah, but
Like,
how
let's
do you
still
know that
get
he
it
has the
done.
loyalty of the army? I mean, in how many of these cases is there a coup from the person who's like next in command? Like, that's so many cases, you know.
I know,
Like,
but
but if the fear is keeping him in place, like if you know that this guy is competent and and is not like just a victim of his emotions, then he's going to tread very, very carefully, in a different way, because he knows this guy is a force to be respected.
I think my question is like, did Nebuchadnezzar's people, try to have a coup? He was a maniac. He got things
Right.
done.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just trying to understand, like the history of.
I mean, if you look at most of them, then they did. Most of the kings did. But yeah. Side point, by the way, I forgot how this came up yesterday with Ken, but he was saying how you look through Sefer Malachim and you see how like messed up these kings were, But then the point Ken made is he said, if you think about these guys, they didn't have Machiavelli, they didn't have the Roman Empire, they didn't have Greece, they didn't have these literally like centuries of examples of kings ruling and their successes and their failures. So in a certain sense, not that you can't blame them, but like they were kind of new in the king realm. Like Nebuchadnezzar was the first king who ruled over other kings, like who conquered other kings and ruled over them, according to like Tanakh at least, And like it's just interesting how like it's like new territory, and they didn't have all these other examples and guiding principles and such.
What about Paro? Like, maybe they used him as a model. I mean, Paro was like a
right. Paro is also slightly different because Egypt was around for so much longer, And also, I think it's different whether you view them as a god king or a regular king. I don't know how many of these were god kings also, but yeah.
What the Jewish kings you're saying?
No, like in the ancient world in general, I don't know how many of them were actually god kings. Yeah.
That is an interesting point. I didn't think of that way.
Yeah.
Just another distinction between two types of kings. If you have a king who is dependable and like intelligent and makes good decisions, then you'll have people who will try to do who will actively seek out to do good for the king and to fulfill his will because they know this guy is dependable. I'll get rewarded if I do, and
right.
If I don't, I won't.
Right.
And so people aren't going to be people are going to want to conform to his will because they know that he's going to because they know that they can
There's a system there. There's
and
consistency. Yeah.
But if he might fly into a rage and execute his second in command because he didn't like the results that happened, then people aren't going to want to.
Right. It kind of reminds me of the psychological phenomenon of learned helplessness, like what they do with the I don't know the exact parameters, but the first thing I heard of was they have the animal that gets a shock if it does something, if it violates this rule, and it gets a reward if it does this other thing, So the animal will learn to get the reward and to avoid the shock. But then you have the other case where the animal is just shocked at random for doing certain things. Sometimes it'll go into a certain area and it'll get a shock, and then sometimes it'll just be sitting there and it'll get a shock. And sometimes it'll get the reward and it'll get a shock. And what ends up happening is the animal becomes completely paralyzed and just doesn't do anything because there's no consistency in terms of what the result will be. With the king, also it's like that. It's terrible, and it happens in humans. That's the thing of human beings. I mean, I think this is typically learned about kids who grow up in homes where the parents are unstable and there's no consistency about what will make a particular parent angry or loving, and they just end up being paralyzed, So same thing with the king, like if he has consistency in terms of his anger and in terms of his favor, which is really what the last pasuk was about, of the favor of the king and the anger of the king, so then there's going to be a more predictable way that people can engage with him, and then they could like use that to become more successful or to avoid failure, and then like it ends up being good. I don't want this to be a 2-day pasuk. I kind of want to move on. So let's do some of from here. Yeah, I mean, I think we got the basic idea according to you, right?
Yeah.
That this is for the king. The advice is for the king, or really, by extension, anyone in a position of power. And you think that you're commanding respect by being able to wield severe consequences, and that there's a fear of you in terms of what you could do. So the mistake is to think that if I get angry, then that'll make them even more terrified of me and get even more allegiance. But if you're perceived as being unstable, it'll undermine the entire thing, both because of the lack of predictability and also because they're realizing, oh, you're just human, yeah.
We apply this pasuk to our internal system.
Yeah. Go ahead.
That in the same way, if you basically have your like there could be a thought that I like if I want my desires to get in line or something,
Yeah.
I should just like kind of yell at them, get
Right.
like, really angry at them.
Yeah.
Like, eventually they'll sort of like fall in line.
Right.
But to sort of like have a sort of like you tell them what the objective is, and like are not don't fly off the handle.
Yeah.
And sort of like are predictable in terms of what you want from them.
Yeah.
Then that's better result.
Yeah. So meaning that getting to know the parameters and being clear about that would be a first step.
Yeah.
And I also feel like the natural, I mean, I don't know about this yet, but like the derech of firefighters is to completely just do whatever's necessary to like put out the fires,
Right.
Yeah. Amazing yapping. I saw this great phrase, by the way, that Ibn Kaspi says, "V'hamevin yacharish." The one who understands will be silent, which is even greater thing. All right, let's look.
I had thought about how to apply this generally.
Yeah.
I think it applies to anyone who's in a position of authority.
Yes. Oh, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah.
I think people respect authority, and like there's like a natural tendency to like not to like give into authority, but to like be in line with the system, with a system of authority.
Yeah.
But if like the leader is like inconsistent or like or tyrannical, or and like changing things that when then like people don't people don't have respect for what that person wants, because the person wants to change, but
Right. Yeah. And that's the derech about the king psukim in general, that I think they apply to anything having to do with authority, on a sliding scale. Was that a fallacy reference you were making?
Yes.
Okay. All right, good. Appeal to authority. Yeah. Okay, let's look at Rבינו Yona. Okay, because I think that's most of my pshat. Left column. Yesh ba'adam.
Excited.
I never know how to read that word. Liro. Me'emas melach, to fear the anger of the. Oh, that is interesting. That's like what you were saying, Isaiah. To fear the aim of the king. To fear the terror of the king, I guess. Yeah. And this feeling as like the thing coming from the king, not like the reaction. Afal pishlo yugar ba'adam. Even though he does not growl at a person. Kamo minaham arya. Just like you said last time, right? Just like the roar of a lion, meaning it's not like you're not afraid of the lion until it roars. Like you're afraid of the lion even before it roars. So that's
because it can roar.
Well, not because it could roar, but because it's a lion.
Right.
Yeah. So even when it's not signaling its lionness, not lioness like Nala, but Mis abro chote nafsho. One who angers him, chote nafsho. Mish mis abro imo hamelach. A person with whom the king is angry at, poshea b'chote benafsho. He is negligent and sins against his soul. The al yomar bilbavo kihu anus. he should not say in his heart that it was out of his control. Okay. Lo also al lev she's katef hamelav is abra al davar, and he shouldn't say, oh, it never occurred to me that the king could get angry at something like this. But he's still this guy's called negligent. Meaning the guy who angered the king. It's proper for a person to to tremble at the terror of the king. He shouldn't say anything in front of him unless it's as clear as the sun. That will not be harsh in the king's eyes. Yeah.
So when he says Poshea the Chote Benasho, that's not going on the king according to his reading.
That's talking about the subject.
The guy who made the king angry.
Yeah, that guy is negligent and sins against his soul. Meaning he should have known better. He should have known that the king might get angry at something like this.
So I was saying, does that carry over to the last two words in the pasuk? Meaning he's saying these last two words in the pasuk are referring to the guy
who angers the king.
Not the king.
Yeah, he's learning it right. He's saying misabro, the one who angers the king, chote nafsho, sins against himself.
Okay.
What if,
not saying the king is a subject.
just from like a thing how we were learning before? I mean, there are kings who are like irrational.
Right.
Who just get
So Kavachomer.
and nothing.
Right.
Like,
so Kavachomer, you have to tread carefully. It doesn't mean you're going to guarantee that you're not going to upset them, but like, the more erratic they are, then the more you have to be aware that like any little thing could set them off.
right.
V'nitma hamikra hazel. This is a very classic Ravina Yona juxtaposition here. Okay. V'nitma hamikra hazel inyan leitayayin. So it puts this next to the pasuk about the wine scoffer. In royal adam ladaber lifnei melech afrei shasa b'terem yatam mimenu hayayin. You should not speak in front of the king before the wine has left your system. If you've had wine to drink. Okay. Why? Van Rozal, Chazal say edehu shasui. How do you who is someone who's considered drunk? Kol shiach ladaber lifnei melech. Anyone can speak in front of the king. Yeah. So again, loose juxtaposition. He's not saying that that's the main idea. He's just doing the association. Then mitabir imo. Mitabro means mitabir imo, who's angry with him. So he's addressing the reflexive thing. So he's just saying mitabir imo the way to understand it. Kamo v'yilachamuni chinam. Kamo nilchamu bi ratlamer ha'ish asher yisabir imo hamelach v'lo yitachin lefarish ha'ish hamisabir imo melach chote nafsho. That's an interesting thing. So he's saying it's not possible to explain it as referring to a guy, meaning it's not talking about a guy who angers the king, I think, because that you don't need to tell anyone because everyone knows this. So it's saying a guy with whom the king gets angry. And he's saying, meaning obviously you shouldn't provoke a king. I think he's ruling out that interpretation. Doesn't mean one who provokes the king forfeits the soul, because obviously. But what was that?
It's like poking the lion.
Yeah, exactly, right. But it means that if you are not careful and you end up getting the king angry at you, then that's the problem. Yeah. So what's the chiddush here? So I think the chiddush has to do with blaming the king versus realizing that this is your fault,
Right.
That's where in the chiddush lies, but we gotta formulate it really quickly. But that was his main point. He's like, don't say that it's on us. You never say that with a lion. And he does seem to be saying that it is, this is not talking about Isaiah's case, but like, it does seem to be like, the most you can do is control how you present yourself before the king, So if there's any little thing whatsoever that could be interpreted as like a slight to the king, then it's your fault, And like you know, if the king gets mad at you and there's nothing that you did wrong, like he doesn't like, people who are your height, and like you just don't know that, So then obviously there's nothing you can do, but.
Right. I guess he's also saying like this is like across the board. Meaning even if you have a king who's consistent or usually consistent and seems like cool-headed, like you still just don't know. Like he still is just a king, and so you should always like never talk it out to like, oh, that king was crazy, because like even the king who's not crazy could do something crazy, and like just always present yourself in the right way, and just remember that like. And again, if the king is crazy, for sure, even more so present yourself like as well as you can, because he's crazy. But it's gonna be your fault if you go to him and then don't assess his craziness properly.
Yeah. Yeah. Is this the idea? Where are we at? feel like there's like one step that you're missing.
Not sure how this is finished.
Yeah, I mean, that's just bugging me also.
Well, I mean, you could like. There is a thought that like, oh, he's a person and he's making a mistake. Like he shouldn't be getting this angry. It's
Right.
crazy. Like he should
Right.
like guide himself by principles.
Yeah.
And so that is kind of a way that you sort of like,
Blame him.
blame him and like
Yeah.
take the responsibility off of
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah.
But it's just that
Right.
like no, you like
Take responsibility.
like yeah, he might be wrong that
Right.
he's acting crazy, but that doesn't absolve you of responsibility.
Right. And this is different than in other relationships. Like in other relationships, then you should not necessarily like assume that if the person gets mad at you, then somehow your fault, like that's, but with a king, because of the unique, psyche of the king, whether it's because of his power or power hungriness, or like the fact that everyone like looked up, whatever it is, then it is your fault if you go into that circumstance and you treat it like any other relationship where like there's like an expectation of being reasonable, in a certain thing. Yeah. It's a very imbalanced relationship.
Yeah. This might be like jumping to a generalization too late, but I think you hear people like
it's not the fallacy. Yeah.
you were like complaining about like they have like a crazy boss who's like whatever.
Yeah.
But then like they will like be lax in their work because they have an excuse now, and then the boss gets angry about them, and then because of that, and then and that was their fault.
Right. Yeah. I think another thing I'm associating to, which might be different, but the warning seems the same, is Chazal also warned about getting too close to Chachamim for this, right? Like that's Mishlei in Pirkei Avos. No, getting too close to Chachamim.
Oh, really?
Yeah, right. That's the Mishlei in Pirkei Avos. Nishichatan Akra, or like warm yourself by their fire. You know what I'm talking about?
No, I thought I was thinking of a different one about not getting.
Yeah, that's different. Let me just see if I can find. Yeah, heavy zahir. Oh, hold on. Yeah, the heavy mischamim keneged uran shel chachamim. You should warm yourself by the fire of chachamim. The heavy zahir migahaltan shalot tikave. But be careful of their embers or their coals that you don't get burned. Shenishichatan neshichas shual v'akitzasan akitas akrav. Their bite is like the bite of a fox, and their sting is like the sting of a scorpion. Yeah, I'm just laughing because that would have been great for Rabbi Fox to use that phrase. But yeah, and there, I think that's another word for like a bite, is like the bite of a fiery serpent. And other words are like fiery coals. That's like I haven't learned that Mishnah in a very long time, but I think that Mishnah is talking about like also like a certain sense of over familiarity and closeness to Chachamim. And I don't know in what context. I don't know if they're like in the context of learning or like in other stuff.
So how does that carry on?
I would say I don't know if it's the same thing, but it's a similar thing also, where like you have to be wary that this should not be regarded as a normal relationship, and that like if you are in a normal relationship like with an equal, then like there's kind of an equal part responsibility. But like if you get too close to the Chachamim and you get burned, then like that's your fault. Like that's on you. Obviously it's different than like the reason that the king overreacts, but just remind me of that. You want to see a wacky explanation? This is a good one. Look at Rבינו, the Ralbag, who I think I put at the very end of the packet. I think I did. Did I? Yeah. Second to the last page. Is it second to the last page? No, third to the last page.
Oh, I don't know. I just saw a blog.
Third to the last page, bottom left. Is it or base? Yeah. So the all of the king who rules in man, who is that? That's the human intellect. Okay, not the active intellect, right? So the human intellect is the king that rules in man, which is the same muscle that the Rambam uses for covering your head, right? Because you've got the king is always with you, and that's the seichel. Well, that might be the active intellect. What?
Wait, that's why you cover.
That's why Chachamim cover their heads. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
you need in the presence of the king.
Yeah, in the presence of the king, right? So you think that's the intellect? Yeah, yeah. It's fit to rule over the other bodily faculties, right? So that's why it's called the king, right? Because it rules over the other, or it's fit to rule over the other parts.
That was kind of part of what I was saying with the
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. The difference though is that you were talking about. I thought you were talking about the king being a muscle for like one of the parts.
Oh, I was thinking of like a muscle for the self.
Oh, okay. So that's different than I thought you were saying.
Yeah.
Okay. So I have to rethink what you're saying after I read this.
Okay.
Sudar Hashem Yisrael b'yom hibar. And then also God arranged for this on the day that he created man. So meaning that God, the real king, put the king in each of us, right? Which is the Seifa. Roy shetiye kol kach chazaka. It's proper for it to be very strong. Ilu yinahim letarfam kefir. As if it roars. I don't think it means strong. I think it's forceful. As if it roars for its prey like a lion. Keep ms mishi yasur mi'avodasa yidroch el hahepsid v'hishachis. Someone, in truth, someone who removes himself from its service will be guiding himself towards loss and destruction. Umishu misaber imo ve'ino rotz l'shar. So, someone who is angry, it's angry with him. I don't know. He's angry with it. I don't know how he's translating that, but doesn't want to serve it. Husar nafsho. He's diminishing his soul. Umachsida, and harming it. V'yeh sofo la'ayin, and that'll bring about his end. V'nei hamisaber imo hu bal hataiva. So who's the one who is who angered the seichel? That's the bal taiva. That's the pleasure addict. Yakoach hamisorer hahu, because the emotive faculty, the thing that drives you towards pleasure and away from pain, yariv im hakoach hamisorer hatzifli. It will, the taiva-based emotive faculty will wage war, will quarrel with the intellectual emotive faculty. I don't know if the Rambam holds by that. The nutzach b'val taiva hakoach hamisorer hatzifli, and the Yovilehu el Hakilan Vahafsid, and the emotive pleasure faculty will conquer the intellectual emotive faculty. Yovilehu el Hakilan Vahafsid, and it'll lead it to destruction and loss. Kind of this internal war thing. Yeah, this sounds like a lot more like what you were saying.
Yeah.
Of strengthening the self.
Right.
Yeah. Not that you can strengthen the self.
Right.
Right.
You can put it in more of a place of power.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, ציון.
Yeah.
Let's stop there. All right, we'll go to the next puzzle tomorrow.